Will AI take over delivery driving jobs and rideshare driving jobs? This is more of like a fireside chat style video. I'm not going to have anything crazily edited or things jumping in and out. More of like a casual conversation with you because I've gotten this question a lot. And I think not just ride sharing and delivery driving, but for any job, AI is a big question a lot of us have, let's be honest. And I think when it comes to delivery driving and rideshare driving, I do think they're a bit different. However, my first answer to this question in terms of AI taking over or will AI take over is 100% yes. I think at some point, AI will pretty much 100% take over delivery driving jobs and rideshare driving jobs. The bigger question is, when will it happen? And I think at least at the exact time of this video, and I've done a few videos about this in the past couple years, I think at the exact time of this video, we are very far away from that. Some people might disagree with me on that. Some people might agree with me on that. Now, when it comes to both, let's start with delivery driving first. I just did a video talking about like the tipping culture around delivery driving, and that video stemmed from an article about one TikToker talking about how Doordash and Uber Eats, Postmates, etc. are working on robots to replace drivers. And I think the main reason why is one, as you can imagine, you can pay robots way less, or if anything, nothing at all, right? But the second thing I think is important is the barrier to entry in terms of the risk factor is a lot lower. And I mentioned this. I've seen tons of robots, as weird as this is to say, it's not that weird now, I guess, at all. So pros and cons, that I've seen a bunch of robots, like they're like mini carts almost. They're like maybe this big that roll around LA. They can drive themselves in a sense. They stop at stoplights. They avoid traffic. They make sure not to bump into anybody, and they will bring an order from point A to point B. And as you can imagine, the risk of that is way lower. The worst that happens is a robot, I don't know, maybe the food's cold, something goes wrong, maybe someone tries to steal it. Obviously, I know they've thought through this. If, like, say, a robot runs into a car, there could be some tricky things, don't get me wrong. But as you can imagine, the barrier to entry is a lot lower and less risky than, like, say, if you have a rideshare vehicle that's self-driving, you have 2 or 3 people in the car, and now you're worrying about people's lives and people's lives being at stake. So I think delivery driving will, in a sense, take the hit first when it comes to AI taking over compared to rideshare driving. I think that will happen, but I do think there is a bit of a limit, because if you think about it, here in LA, if like you're delivering something a mile, that's a 2-mile round trip for a robot, okay, maybe they'll do that. However, if like you're going cross town, which is not as feasible for a robot to do that, so I think it's gonna be this odd kind of like glass type ceiling situation where AI will take over, I think, in terms of small delivery orders first, where any type of small delivery order will be mitigated by AI. And this is a very interesting thing that if you think about it, for most delivery drivers, it depends on who you are, it depends on the delivery driver. Some people might agree or disagree with me on this. It depends on the situation. But some delivery drivers I know like those short rides, which is only a mile down the road. I know other ones who like driving a bit longer because sometimes you make more money depending on the distance, all these different factors. So it seems like that, in my opinion, I think AI will take over short delivery rides first, to the point where there's almost no short delivery rides being there at all. And the only rides that will exist when it comes to delivery driving will be longer ones. Depending on how you look at it, this could be good, this could be bad. Because I think longer delivery drives kind of have to involve an actual car, right? You can't have like a sidewalk robot go 5 or 10 miles. I guess you could, but by the time they get there at the speed that they're going, the food's gonna be cold. It's just not gonna be worth it, right? Now, on the other end, when it comes to rideshare driving, I think we are pretty far away. I know AI moves very fast, technology moves very fast, and it's very exponential in terms of the growth. So that is something to, I think, be a bit concerned about. But I know there are companies like Waymo. I know Uber's tested out self-driving cars, same thing with Lyft. But the problem is, like I said, the risk factor is significantly higher. You are literally talking about people's lives. I think a lot of people don't trust AI, all this kind of stuff. And I think, yes, at some point, like I said, it will take over. It makes sense, right? Especially if you look at it not from a driver's perspective, but from a rider's perspective, from a consumer's perspective. If, let's say, you can pay $20 to go in an Uber or Lyft, or let's say for Joe Schmo's AI company, you can pay only $8 because you don't have to pay the driver, you don't have to pay, probably gas is probably an electric vehicle, I would guess. Most people are gonna say, hey, it's cheaper, I'm gonna take it. Now, to some people, they might want that human interaction. To other people, they might not care. They might be like, hey, I just want to go to my friend's house. I just want to go to the bar, to the club. I need to get to work. If it's cheaper, that is 100% the ride I'm going to take. I honestly, it's tough to say, right? As the landscape progresses, especially with AI, I mean, no one even a year ago would expect that ChatGPT is at the level it's at now, right? I mean, I remember first hearing about it a while ago, and I was like, oh, it's kind of like similar to Smarter Child from AIM or AOL Instant Messenger, if anybody remembers that. And now, I mean, ChatGPT is so big that teachers now have to use different protocols and new systems, not necessarily to grade people's papers, but to make sure that their papers are not being created by ChatGPT. And it's a whole kind of like chicken before the egg situation where once a teacher figures out a good solution, there's already a new version of ChatGPT that makes it even harder to distinguish is it an actual person writing it. And so there's so much going on with AI now. And who knows, maybe in a year from now, we look back on this video and we're like, well, I guess I was wrong. But I gotta be honest, I think that especially when it comes to self-driving cars, like I said, the biggest thing I think is the risk. That is the biggest thing. We've heard of self-driving cars or self-driving technology with Teslas, for example, getting people hurt or whatever if something goes wrong. It's computers, it's technology. And as we all know, technology can be really, really good, but also really, really bad in terms of like things just not working. And so I still think we're pretty far away. I think for most delivery drivers and most ride drivers now, I think if I had to put like a timestamp on it, I think we're at least 5 years away from it making a bit of a difference. Now, granted, we'll see what happens, but I think we're still about 5-ish years away. And this also reminds me of a brilliant piece that John Oliver did. I can't remember, I think it was like in 2019 maybe, or 2020. No, I think it was like 2019, where he talked about automation. And the big thing he talked about was the ATM, or the automatic teller machine. It's kind of ironic that we say ATM machine. But anyway, a lot of bankers were saying, oh my God, this is going to take my job. It's not that their job got taken per se, but it just changed. It's not that bankers now lost all their jobs. Also, when you go to the bank, you still sometimes have to go to a teller. It's just that their job changed in terms of the mundane lifestyle, right? As opposed to being like, all right, I'm going to withdraw this money or deposit it. Now you're like, okay, for a more simple transaction, yeah, I'll go to the ATM machine. But for a more complex thing, you have to go to the teller. So it's not that their jobs got taken away, it's that it changed. Now, could that be the same with ride driving and delivery driving? Could it be that maybe when it comes to ride driving and delivery driving, your job maybe gets easier? Maybe as opposed to you being the Uber driver, you're more the control driver of the self-driving vehicle where you're sitting in the front seat and you're just watching, making sure everything goes correctly, where you still get paid the same amount you would through Lyft or Uber. However, you're more of a watchman or watchwoman, so to speak, I guess, watching over everything in the car to make sure everything goes correctly, as opposed to physically driving it. It is really tough to say, I think, what will happen. And another thing too, maybe in the future there'll be a gig economy around AI where there'll be some type of Lyft and Uber version of AI where you're more dealing with maybe repairs on the road or watching. It's tough to say exactly, but I think, at least for right now, at least at the exact time of this video, I still think we're about 5 or at least 10 years away. I'm going to say 5 to 10 because things are moving very rapidly with AI. I still think we're about 5 to 10 years away, though, from AI making a big difference when it comes to delivery driving and rideshare driving.